Incentives have become increasingly recognized globally as most countries of the world, irrespective of their stages of development, now employ a wide variety of incentives in pursuing their economic goals. The application of incentives now exists virtually in all sectors of the economy, namely industrial, agriculture, manufacturing, petroleum, solid minerals, energy, tourism, and others. The Nigerian government has over the years adopted one form of incentives or the other for companies operating in the country. This is aimed at encouraging business growth and development in the private sector organization. In the light of the efforts in providing conducive environment for foreign direct investment inflows, protect the existing investments from unfair competition, stimulates the expansion of domestic production capacity and growth of industries. The federal government has continued to provide incentives such as financial, fiscal, and regulatory to attract both local and foreign direct investments into various sectors of the economy. Just recently, also the States of States document that shows the potentials of states in the country was also launched by the NIPC. But let's talk more about this and give insights into all of these issues that has to do with investment promotion strategy and how we can, of course, get better. I have joining me live from our Abuja studios. She's the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, NIPC, Ms. Yewande Sadiku. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate this. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tolulope. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, I think I'll quickly start with your Q1 investment announcement report. Can you take us a little bit through the content of that document before we delve into other issues that, of course, has to do with investment promotion?
Okay, thank you. So in the first quarter of 2021, the investment announcements that we tracked total $8.4 billion. In the same period last year, we tracked $4.81 billion of investment announcements. So it's a material increase over what we tracked last year. And it signifies an increasing look, if you like, by investors at the prospects of investing in Nigeria. All of last year, we had a total of $6.74 billion of investment announcements. So this material increase of circa 75% in the first quarter is material. The largest sector is manufacturing, which accounts for, I think, about 35% of the total of the announcement. And then Nigerian investors represent the largest body for this quarter, with Morocco coming in at number 2.
Looks very good. Does it mean that we are still doing very well when it comes to attracting investments? I'm going to ask you that question because you've been seeing the figures. What's your assessment despite what we faced with COVID and all of the effects, the gradual reopening of economies? Is Nigeria still that bright that everybody wants to really come and invest with us?
So we certainly have a long way to go, but we're in good company, if you like. Investment flows globally have been falling since 2015. The biggest dip that we've seen in recent times was in 2020 on account of COVID. Some recovery is expected in 2021, but it will be marginal. But COVID had a material impact, a materially sharp drop on investment flows globally. So from 2019 to 2020, global inflows contracted by about 50%, with the bulk of that coming from Europe. What we've seen in Nigeria, obviously the investment levels that we're seeing are not sufficient for our economic development, and we feel that across all aspects of the economy. But when we look at investment announcements, which are just an indicator, and we compare them to the actual inflows for the year, they range from between 5% to 11%. That's the announcements tracked relative to the actual inflows. To reverse the trend, this global trend that I talked about that has existed since 2015, We need a more collaborative, more cohesive, more coherent effort at attracting investments into Nigeria. We need to ensure that all of us across government are working for the same purpose, and the objectives and the policies and the like, that there's a coherence that runs through them. Ultimately, investment promotion and investment attraction are like layering. You don't get a PhD overnight, so it's not a single event that gives you a PhD. For you to earn a PhD, you must have done primary school, secondary school, university, get a first degree, get a master's, and then you go for a PhD. So it's that sort of layering that all of us in government need to be doing, facing the right direction, but working towards the same objective. But I've seen from my time in NIPC that it is not only possible, but across all the 36 states of Nigeria, there isn't a single state in Nigeria that does not have the capacity to attract a respectable quantum of investments. But we have to work actively to get it.
When you say things like this, I'm always excited being a Nigerian, telling me that all of the states of the Federation, of course, have something to offer. Now, the Book of States...
Every single one. Every single one.
The Book of States has been unveiled, and this is one of the latest moves, of course, to redefine the volume of what we expect to see in terms of foreign and direct investment for economic growth. I'd like you to help make us understand the contents of this document and what it means for us as a country.
Okay, so I work for a federal agency. The investments that come into Nigeria will sit in the states of the country, or they will sit in the continental waters. But invariably, most of the investments will sit in the states. You're only as strong as your weakest link. So to attract investments across Nigeria, we need to be aggressively selling all the states in Nigeria and selling all the states for the prospects that they represent. Now, let me tell you, I'll digress a little bit and tell you a short story.
Go ahead.
My first trip to Borno was in Borno State, February 2017. At that time, I asked my colleagues, if an investor asks us about Borno State, what do we say? Because the only things that many of us knew, the only things that many Nigerians think of when they think of Borno State is insurgency. But clearly there is a lot more to the state than that. From an investment promotion perspective, we cannot do justice to Borno State if we don't fully understand the prospects of Borno State. So that's what informed the work of the Book of States, identifying state by state the competitive advantages and the investment opportunities across Nigeria. So if somebody asks me now about Borno State, I'll tell them Borno State has more than a million hectares dedicated to agriculture. Borno State has a gum Arabic belt. They have a variety of minerals that are available, and they also have a number of crops. Borno State borders 3 countries who historically actively depended on Borno State for trade and for materials. Chad, Niger, Cameroon. It borders 3 states in Nigeria as well. So historically, it served as an important trade route for that region. In terms of the investment opportunities that the state wants to promote, there are a variety of them. And I'll just read straight from the Book of States. But in terms of the investment opportunities, it's pepper, onions, cowpeas, cattle fattening, hides and skin, cross-border trade I've already talked about, cap making, groundnut, sesame, fisheries. Now imagine this level of insight, state by state, across all 36 states. It means that we have an important foundation for better selling the prospects of each of Nigeria's 36 states.
That's just Borno State. We have all of this, cap making, sesame, but something came to my mind earlier. You talked about coherent and collaborative efforts. I'm now thinking that making Nigeria the destination of choice, we also need to aggressively pursue some reforms, particularly maybe our trade policies, cost-cutting measures, and value addition. But I'm also worried on another side that issues of security, COVID-19 is also a challenge. Now, what's your forecast? What are you thinking as we move on? Let's project with all of this as cautious optimism remains the ruling sentiment.
So COVID-19 is a universal problem. And COVID-19 itself presents some opportunities. It caused material disruption in value chains. COVID-19 has demonstrated the danger in concentrating manufacturing capacity in one country, in one region. So Africa has a material selling point in attracting multinationals that want to diversify for geographical diversification. Nigeria, as the largest single country market on the continent, the prospects of Nigeria from that perspective still remain very strong. But the challenges that you refer to are things that we need to manage. And yes, security is one that we need to manage. So aggressive efforts need to be made, not only to address the security challenges, but to continue to sell Nigeria with the quality of the policies that we have, the coherence of those policies that we have. And I would say with better co-creation, investors continue to tell us that they would like to be more involved in the government policy making process. They would like the policies that come out of government to be more consistent and more supportive of their own aspirations for investment. Obviously, those policies must ensure that Nigeria's developmental objectives are attained, but they also need to make sure that the business can be properly, if you like, carried on and can be profitably conducted in the context of those policies.
Well said there.
Then they need some sort of, sorry, if I can just make this point quickly. They need some sort of comfort that there will be some stability to those policies, at least for a reasonable period in their investment horizon. And this is more important for direct investors than it is for portfolio investors, because they're the ones digging the ground, they're the ones building factories. They don't have the capacity for short-term reactions. You know, they like to plan on a longer-term basis.
All right there, well said. Thank you for that response. Now, what is now required, if we were to look at it in its entirety now, to change Nigeria's direction? Something came to my mind. We also discussed this. Do we give more incentives, or what more should we do to attract this investment?
So I find in many quarters, everybody likes incentives. And in reality, the more incentives you give, the more investors will embrace them. Before I took this position, I always thought that the best incentive for investment was the profit potential, which is driven by a number of things: the size of the market, the ease and the capacity to do business, and that company's ability to deliver what the market wants. And that still remains. There are a number of sectors in Nigeria where government does not have specific incentives for, but those sectors have grown because of the sheer entrepreneurial spirit of Nigerians. The tech-enabled ecosystem is one. The entertainment sector is another. So it is true that you need incentives. And when people think of incentives, they think of financial incentives. But you can also have regulatory incentives, which effectively reduce the red tape. You can have fiscal incentives, which give some sort of tax breaks. But the incentives that we give need to be incentives that government can afford to give. I think regulatory incentives are a useful lever that we may want to consider leveraging more. But because of the reality of government's finances and because of the reality of the impact of COVID, some financial and fiscal incentives may not be as realistic at this time as they may have been at other times, but certainly regulatory incentives that we can leverage. We also believe in NIPC that we need a more data-driven approach to incentive creation. So we're in the process of better understanding the impact of incentives and which incentives will have the biggest leverage. We think that incentives should help, for instance, to drive investments to economically disadvantaged areas in Nigeria, because that will have a material, not just economic, but socio-economic effect.
Okay, let me now follow up back on the issues of states. The governors, of course, the NGF, I think they were so supportive in you getting all of this, putting these documents together. I'd like you to tell us how that went on and what new lines of conversations are ongoing with the governors to create regional hubs and also consolidate on existing assets and infrastructure, of course, to maximize resources in collaboration with your commission, NIPC.
We started this work by thinking that we could do it alone. But once I came to know the Nigeria Governors Forum, I found it an invaluable partner in working with, for engaging with all the 36 state governors. And I encourage anybody that wants to do anything that involves all of the governors to leverage that platform. It is their own group for peer learning, for advocacy, for sharing best practice, and for driving their own common interest. But through the platform of the Nigeria Governors Forum, it made it much, much easier for us to access all the 36 state governors. So after the governors were all elected, in the induction that they had for them, I was invited to speak to them about investment promotion, the prospects for it, and the work that we were doing at NIPC. At the very first meeting they had, after they all took office, the first meeting they had under the platform of the Nigeria Governors Forum, again, I was invited to speak to them about the work that we're doing and how we can better collaborate. So it was with the support of the Governors Forum that we were able to get all the governors to sign off on the pages that relate to them in the Book of States. And we've been in conversation already about the next steps. Because as I said, this is one of the many building blocks we need for investment promotion. But it is certainly not an end. It is an important point in the journey, but it is not an end by itself.
Well, indeed. I'm still looking at partnership. I think lately you also had something to do with NIDCOM, trying to synergize and all of this. Can you tell us more of what you're doing in regards to partnership and all of that to strengthen, of course, investments across the country?
We've historically partnered with a number of agencies. The Compendium of Investment Incentives was produced in collaboration with FIRS.
Okay.
This was in 2017 when we had the Nigeria Direct Investors Summit. In 2018, we partnered with NBS to organize that. With NIDCOM, the Nigerian diaspora represent a large force in many ways. They're culture carriers, they're spreaders of Nigeria's image. They help us carry to the outside world what Nigeria represents. But they're also a potential force for investment. So we've done some work in the past to better understand the investment potentials of the diaspora group. But the object of our engagements with NIDCOM is to better leverage the power, the economic power that the Nigerian diaspora represents. I find, as they say, the African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. So for many things, we collaborate with different partners.
Okay, almost finally, let's just touch on what more we should be looking at. We know of the AFCFTA, a lot of things happening with regards to trade and relations. So as we proceed in 2021 and all of these challenges, what more should we expect from NIPC? And what more prospects do you see for our country, Nigeria? You see more than what we see here.
So NIPC's work is largely advocacy. NIPC's work is largely behind the scenes. Our ultimate focus is better targeted investment promotion, better targeted proactive investment promotion. That means that we're marketing the states of Nigeria to the investors and to the countries that they are most likely to attract the right kind of investments from. We would like to attract investments that are responsible, that are inclusive, that are balanced, and that are sustainable, so that have Nigeria's best interest ultimately at heart. But a lot of what we're doing now is gathering data to better advise government on some investment levers that we think government should be pulling. And I'll be very happy to come and talk to you when we're done with some of the work that we're working on.
Of course, we would invite you, and we'll be happy to have you in again to talk about that. I think we can leave it at that for today, Ms. Necesssary. Thank you very much for making us understand all this, the Book of States, the announcement from you, and all that is happening with regards to investments, where we expect that things get better and moving on the year. Thank you very much for spending your afternoon with us. We know you're a busy person, but we really appreciate this. We don't take it for granted. Thank you again.
Thank you, Tolulokwe. I really appreciate it.
All right. Enjoy your weekend.